All right, in a bit, we look at, the constitutional pronouncement as to the same and a couple of things. Just who is your next of kin? Perhaps you could be asking this. Next of kin is a legal term that's usually only used in estate, well, not estate, maybe Wakili will tell us here. Planning, if you pass away without a will, it refers to your closest living relative by blood or by law, like your spouse, children, or parents. What next? And of course, next of kin refers to the closest living relative. The order of closest relative generally goes spouse, adopted and biological children, parents, siblings, and other blood relations. Most of the time, we will not start with the spouse, who knows. A person next of kin often takes precedence over others in inheritance cases, especially when a will isn't established. Your next of kin may extend further down your bloodline if you have no surviving spouse or children. State law varies, but this next of kin generally include grandchildren, grandparents, aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews, cousins, if there are no other surviving heirs. And of course, the great generations may also inherit under some state instances. So you will tell us what pronunciation that is, laws. And of course, great grandchildren, great grandparents, great aunts, and great uncles. Take note of that. Keep. Yes? And next of kin status establishes inheritance right when someone dies without an estate plan. While wills can simplify estate management, not everyone has a will in place. And of course, Wakili will be telling us what it takes to have a will in place. And in these situations, the next of kin has rights and responsibilities involving the estate. Most people disregard the necessity of providing next of kin information, and this often results in a huge number of unclaimed property in Kenya, which are here up until now. And a number of these are mostly due to the unfortunate demise of the buyer without disclosing ownership of their properties to family members or spouse. We'll also be looking at just how important it is to make known some of these that you have, or some of these properties that you have out there. Peana hata pin ya M-Pesa, vitu kama hizo. Let's have this up. It ends there, Mr. Director. Right. What is the difference between next of kin versus beneficiaries? Your next of kin are your closest surviving relatives, but a beneficiary is anyone named to receive something in estate planning documents. When writing a will, you can name beneficiaries at your discretion. And conversely, you don't have to say, or you don't have a say over your next of kin. And let it be known that this is basically across all the property that you could be owning as an individual. Next. Can a friend or unmarried partner be your next of kin? Unmarried partners and friends aren't considered next of kin. If you want them to receive your assets after death, name them as a beneficiary in your will or estate plan. What happens if your next of kin is a minor? Well, if your next of kin is a minor, a probate court will appoint a conservator to oversee the management of assets. And once the child reaches the age of majority, your assets will then pass down to them. And jurisdiction over next of kin, the legislature of a state has plenary power or complete authority over the distribution of property within the state borders. The deceased estate becomes then state property if no legal heir is identified according to the Law of Succession Act of the 2010 Constitution of Kenya. We'll be looking at some of them as we continue, of course, or they will be running down your screen as we continue with this conversation. But then again, we go straight to the gentleman. I hope we could get the lady on Skype because, well, it has rained and, most of the times ladies would fear the night, and especially when it's raining. Once again, I get to introduce Skip Prop, who's an advocate of the High Court, and of course the legal mind that we have this evening that will be walking us through this. So thank you so much for creating time to be with us, Skip, as well as Seria Stephen, who's the founder of Space Africa Group. What about ObSpace?
It is a real estate and estate management company.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I am tempted to ask you how old you are, but I won't. Okay. And then lastly, we have Peter Mugi, who's the life coach of the night or the day. Thank you so much, Peter, as well, for creating time to be